BPod Studios.
Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello.
Human feces, urine, and debris.
Ta-da. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Jackpot.
Hello. Hello.
I'm John Wallach on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hello.
How do you like that?
Hello. Welcome to the show.
How humiliating.
Old men in old country. Old country for no men. Sympathy Olympia. The Emperor and the other people were backstabbing each other. In the first movie, there was a little bit of backstabbing going on.
It is Toucher and Hardy here without Fred Toucher, who this week is on vacation, so we're going to have a bit of a revolving cast here. As Joe Murray joins me in Wallach this morning. Good morning, Joe.
Joey.
Morning. My
What's
first
up?
time on the show.
Oh, first time on Toucher and Hardy.
That's correct.
Oh.
Ever?
How about that? This hour of Toucher and Hardy, by the way, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Did you work this weekend, Joe?
I did not. Nope.
So you are working with us today, tomorrow.
Correct.
And then you're back on the Joe Show,
Yes.
Wednesday night?
I have worked every shift you could think of in probably the last 7 days. Mornings, weekends, middays.
See, that's the difference with Joe. A lot of people will work some people have worked every shift. I have, filled in or been a part of every show on this radio station at one time or another. Joe does it like on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
He bounces around.
The great thing is the show he was hired to do, the night show, he doesn't do quite as much.
Very successful ratings, though.
No, you know what?
Oh, you love puffing your chest out about those ratings, don't you?
We weren't even
Why
going to
not?
go anywhere in that vicinity, but okay.
Why, seriously, why not, by the way?
Okay.
No, for real. Why not? One-man show at Skaz.
But my point
No, I'm
is,
going to keep
you're
pumping
not
if you
on
don't
that
mind.
show, Joe. You're on all these other shows.
Yeah, I'm helping you guys out.
I'm just saying, Joe, now's not the time to pump up your ratings when you're not on the show. You're everywhere else.
Doesn't matter,
except
Wallach.
the show you're
I
claiming
don't care
ratings
about
for.
your opinion about that.
How many nights a week do they play a Celtics or a Bruins game on your show?
Depends, but I don't think...
On average.
I will say
on
this.
average.
I would say that the live programs do much better.
You're really able to break it down by the half hour
On
you're
average.
actually on?
On average.
Maybe 2 a week.
You get
Sometimes
27.
Over under 2.5.
So more than half the time.
Over under 2.5.
The Joe Show is not you.
Well, there are days where there's no games at all. We had a couple All-Star breaks in there. Yeah, I had a
Wait.
NBA All-Star weekend, NHL.
On average, how often in that 4-hour block you're on? You're
Well,
on 6 to
well,
10. How many minutes of that 4-hour block
I am not
are you
taking
on?
his sass already today.
What?
All right,
You're the one who started this.
You're
I'm
the one who
just sitting
started
here.
pump. So, Joe, you're pumping.
He just said he said that.
No, you brought it up to give me credit. he's doing it to put me down.
No.
Because I've worked with this guy for how long?
We're both doing that.
No.
It's not just me.
You're both
It's
putting me
both
down,
of us.
huh? That's what it is.
But you're not going to take it from me, but you're going to take it from him?
Yes, Wallach, I will
All
not
right.
take it from you.
This goes back to what I told you last week, Wallach. Fred is trying to paint me to be this horrible person that no one knew about before. Anyone who knows me knows me.
You've always been horrible.
I've always been a horrible person. Dan O'Brien said this to an intern once. It's like, Hardy, he's a dick, but he does it in kind of a funny way.
Yeah.
I'm very charming when I'm being
funny.
abrasive.
It's not really fun. Not working with you a lot, like for the last 6 weeks.
It's not as funny?
Not as funny.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Beating him in a submission.
Let me ask you something, Wallach.
Yes.
How many other shows have you worked on?
None. Just this one. This is it.
Were you going to ask?
What you see is what you get.
Were you going to ask what I do during the games and all that?
No, I wasn't going to ask that. At all.
Oh, okay. I was going to say because there's this digital component now to the.
Joe, no one is arguing that when you're here and working on the program, you're not working hard. What I'm saying is you're claiming massive ratings when you've had a little bump, you've had a little help. The Celtics are popular, the Bruins are popular, which is something that Hardy brought up and not me.
Oh.
Okay, let's remember that.
I just, again, when there was no games, things were going very well.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you, sir.
And
Both of us are.
I think you deserve all the credit for
Thank
the
you.
ratings.
I do miss
Wallach,
the mornings.
on the other hand, who has never been outside of the morning show.
Nope.
Nor, I think more interestingly, has never expressed a desire to do anything other than sit in this room for 4 hours Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm. You mean other than all the Celtic games that I called?
Ambition is not something that this man can be accused of.
Other than all the Celtic games that I've called.
Okay.
There's no ambition involved there
How
at
many
all.
Celtics games have you called?
Over the years?
Yes.
Hundreds.
So over hundreds?
Hundreds. Yeah.
Over
100.
that many?
Yep.
How many times did Grandy
Many
go off
times.
to do wrestling?
Last year, I called 27 alone.
Wow, we should be talking about that more when he does it.
Yeah.
I can't believe
It's been 0 this year.
0 this year, but I mean they
Because I work the night show and
locked into place.
every once in a while, Wallach and I would have a little, hey, how you doing at night? You know?
Yeah, that's right.
It's
a little
not happening
virtual
anymore.
fist bump. Thanks for being here, Joe. That's what it was. But yeah, 27 games last year, including playoffs.
That is something else. Well, you do deserve credit for that.
Thank you. There is ambition. Now I'm locked into this area. Now I'm not going.
Well, how about yourself, Hardy? You know, you were doing a lot with the Revs in the past. You did the golf show.
The Revs, once they went to Apple TV, we were, I would say, unceremoniously shown the door. It was me and Shalry Joseph used to do the pre, half, and post games, and then it was me and Clyde Sims there for, I don't know, a few years. They didn't even call us. They didn't say anything other than, the season was getting ready to start again, the first year of the Apple TV deal. And I called the producer, and they're like, no, it's going to be Feldman and Charlie Davies, I guess, doing it like everything now because
I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, they're just not even acknowledged.
No phone call.
No, all the stuff you've been doing for the Revs, not even so much as a I'm not even as sorry about that, but here's the deal. There wasn't even a here's the deal. I had to reach out and say, am I coming in? They're like, no, you're not coming in.
Exactly right.
Okay.
It's interesting. We didn't find out that Drew Carter had gotten the TV job, slotting Grandy back to radio until the official announcement right before the season starts, and I'm still waiting for the phone call from the company that owns this radio station saying, you know what, Grandy's going to do all the radio broadcasts. We're not going to need you this year.
Yeah, just like
I didn't get a call.
Like an acknowledgement. It's like what people are talking about. You know what people are maybe even planning on doing.
Yep.
And they don't even so much as acknowledge that you have thoughts as a human boy, as a human bird. Mm-hmm. No one can. Look,
fleeting, but they're there. Yes.
No, I still do Rock 92.9 every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 to 7. That's Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. I still do satellite radio every Saturday and Sunday. I was on last night 6 to midnight, filling in for someone else, but normally I'm noon to 6, Saturday, Sunday. Sports Hub Golf Club will start up again Memorial Day and 4th of July morning from 2 a.m. to 2:15 a.m., so I have to plan those every Sunday morning at 7. Starting Masters Weekend through Labor Day. And
I am a loyal listener of that show, by the way. I am in the car.
Let me tell you something.
Pretty much every Sunday morning with the dog, and I listen to you, sir, every Sunday morning that you are on.
Where are you going with the dog on Sunday
Usually
mornings?
There's a park called Elm Bank, which is near where I live, and we take the dog, walk the dog Sunday morning.
Both of you?
No, just... we, meaning myself and the dog, are in the car.
Oh.
And we are in the car driving to Elm Bank, where she likes to go for a walk.
What kind of dog?
Charles River. It is a mutt. It's more of a cattle dog mix.
Oh, boy, they're high-strung.
And they're very active, and they don't sleep beyond 6:30, 6:45 in the morning.
Yeah, that's a
so
problem.
We're up early for that 2-3 mile walk on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
There's Hardy on the air.
But I got to tell you, I thought I had all these grand plans of doing other things with the rest of my day once this show started. And because for years I've been doing a Monday through Friday satellite show too, which airs from 6 a.m. to noon. I gave that one up pretty early. I thought, you know what, that one might be rough recording that one every day. There's no way. There is no way. The only thing I can say I've been good about and staying on top of it is just like housework, things like that. Like, I get home and I'll have an extra couple hours for like laundry or stuff around that. But anything else, I thought I was going to, maybe I'll get my real estate license. I'll have the whole rest of the day in front of me. Maybe I'll start going to the gym every day. Eventually, maybe. I'm just tired all the time.
You're learning.
All the time.
You are learning. That is the bad secret.
Hey, how
of
you
this
feel?
shift.
How's the show going? Show's great. How do you feel? Tired.
Yep.
All the time. The only days I'm not and even Saturday and Sunday, a little bit, because your sleep schedule gets thrown off because you have the audacity to sleep in until what? What do you sleep in until on the
7.
weekends? Yeah.
7.
At the latest.
That's as
absolute
far as it
latest.
go. And once there's at least one time every 2 weeks where your eyes pop open at your normal wake up time.
Oh, yeah.
At 4, your eyes pop open at 4 on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And then you like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
The one day I can sleep, my body, even though you have not set your alarm. It's one of the best things that happens to you on this shift. The Friday night where you look at you get your alarm ready and you're like, I don't need to set this thing. I don't have to wake up tomorrow morning, and you still wake up.
Well, mine went off anyway when we were on vacation because I have it set for every weekday at 4. And, that went off. I forgot to turn that off. But, yeah, all the rest of it. I'm no less ambitious. It's just that I don't have the energy. I just don't have the energy. Hopefully I will find it. This helps. Looking out the window right now and seeing actual daylight in the sky.
Yes.
This helps immeasurably. What are you shaking your head about, O'Brien?
So next Monday, when we turn the clocks ahead, this will not happen until 7:13 in the morning.
Yeah, but it gets.
But I know
it happens quickly.
It
this
will.
Time
It will happen. Yes.
There was no need to include that. He
No,
was
I
very
thought
happy.
believe me.
Discussing daylight, and look at you, Mr. Wet
He saw me
Blanket.
just
What? There was no need. You didn't have to include that.
No, I thought
there was no reason to
Well,
do that.
I look forward to the other end of it, where next Sunday night the sun will be up at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, I thought
Or light.
I thought about that, and I thought about daylight saving. I thought about hours of darkness way more than I ever have since I started. It's not right.
Once you do this, your mental state is permanently altered.
It's
true.
Yeah, I used to be a nice guy, John. Like before.
When was that?
Before I met you.
Oh, okay.
Like started doing this
15,
shift.
16 years ago.
top 40 shorty back there was a real nice guy.
Morning, Joe. Good to see you, Joe.
Hey, man, how you doing? Aloha.
There's something about the human condition, about our dinosaur brains, the way they're wired, that I read this or heard this like years ago, like a disproportionate number of human error accidents take place between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. because the human brain is not meant to be awake. And talking about like Exxon Valdez, people running into icebergs, stuff like that. It happens in the middle of the night, even for people who are, trained to be up at those hours and you've been awake at that time. Doesn't matter. You're not at your best.
And it doesn't matter how old you are either. I mean, you could be 55, you could be 17, 18. When I was in college, I worked as an overnight security guard for Raytheon just to get money. It's a custodial thing. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But it's 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 5 days a week. And I did that back-to-back summers in Waltham. And it was – you get to about 3:30 in the morning, and you hit a wall, and there's nothing you can do to climb over it. Even though I'm a college kid, you used to being up all hours of the night, but
It's
you
not
can't,
the same. I needed more sleep then than I do now.
Yeah,
it
was awful.
Worst shift I ever worked was the station that Fred and I were both at, same company in Detroit, around the same time, like mid-late 90s. and it was the Saturday into Sunday overnight, and the shift was 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I lived an hour and 15 minutes away. But I did it just to get in the door of a big market radio station, just to work weekend overnights. And there was something about doing that shift as a 24-year-old or something. Like, it's 5 a.m., you're halfway done.
Yeah.
I've been there for 3 hours. It's like, oh, no, you got 3 more hours of this before you can get out.
That's the worst. You're walking around, and it's 3:27 in the morning, and you know you still have 3.5 hours of sitting there.
It was a 6-hour shift, 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. It was awful. All right, on that cheery note.
Morning, Joe. Good to see you.
Good morning.
How many times are we going to say good morning to Joe?
I love Joe.
He's here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I woke up.
All right, good. We have a bunch of tickets to give away this morning, a bunch of different stuff, so we'll tell you about that. Joe Coy, this first hour, D.O.B. Love Joe Coy. You a fan of Joe Coy?
I don't know who that is, actually.
He's a very funny comedian.
Oh,
okay. I think you'd.
Maybe I'll look him up.
I think you'd enjoy him. So we'll have that. Call it 6:55.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
Okay? But Wallach will tell us what happened last night and over the weekend. That's coming up next here on Toucher and Hardy.
It's the all-new way for you to wake up. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
It's Toucher and Hardy. Fred out all week. Joe Murray with us this morning, so Wallach will tell us what happened last night and over the weekend and all that stuff. Right, Wallach?
Yes, let us start with the Celtics, who were very much yesterday and last night. They took a 10-game winning streak into the third and final game of their homestand yesterday in a nationally televised game against Golden State. I caught a video piece of Cedric Maxwell's podcast where he said on Saturday this game was important for the Celtics because mentally they had a hurdle to overcome. They lost in the NBA Finals to this team. And earlier this season, they blew an 11-point fourth-quarter lead and lost in San Francisco. In all, the Celtics had lost 6 of their previous 9 meetings to the Warriors. This has been their made speed bump over the last 2 years. And then yesterday's game started. Golden State's defensive plan was to sag off of Jaylen Brown and leave him open to shoot threes. That was a really bad move.
Jaylen, pull up again. Another 3. Got it!
That boy said, this is my house. My doggone house.
It's Jason Tatum's birthday, but it's Jaylen Brown's day. He's got 19 in the first quarter on 5 threes, and an offensive foul is giving the ball back to the Celtics.
Whoa. Which, by the way, going in, wasn't the worst plan for Golden State. If you want to see who's going to initially crack and not be able to handle it, and you're going to pick one player out from the Celtics, who would you pick? Joe, who would you pick?
It wouldn't be Jaylen Brown right now.
He has been on fire the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he
Except
is the
against good teams, that has been their one bugaboo, like against a high-profile marquee team against like Golden State. Now, Jaylen was actually better than Tatum if you go all the way back to the finals series against Golden State, but if you're going to key in on one guy and leave another guy alone, I would have left Jaylen.
That's the narrative. That's the narrative.
Well, that's the
problem.
That's why they did it.
So, Wallach, we'll agree on this one. I think that people watch the Celtics from afar because you probably shouldn't put a lot of investment in them until the playoffs. So they think they're this 3-point philosophy team that shoots up 45 or more every night and needs to hit 50% or 40% to win games. And that's just not the way they're winning.
No.
And this 11-game winning streak that they're playing is led by Jaylen Brown because he's been going to the basket and he's been shooting less threes. And he's shooting 45% from three since the All-Star break. That's the wrong guy to come. And by the way, it was a hunch, but 15 minutes before the game, a joint decision.
We'll get to that. And the other part of it is Jaylen Brown is the best first quarter scorer on this team. You leave him alone when he is ordinarily hot. It's usually a bad move, and just an ancillary look, just a cursory look, that's the word I'm looking for, at a scouting report tells you, don't let Jaylen Brown get hot in the first quarter. That's the quarter he usually does well in. And he scored 19 points in the first quarter.
The most puzzling thing about it is they decided that they needed to leave someone open without Porzingis on the court. Like, what? You can't cover? Now, granted, the best team in the league right now, so I understand if you feel like just having Porzingis out doesn't necessarily level the playing field, but to leave anybody out of the starting five essentially open and giving them shots seems silly when one of their biggest threats isn't even playing.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's a head scratcher.
So you had Brown, who made 5 threes in the first quarter. He had 19 points in quarter number 1. On the other side, Steph Curry, the best three-point shooter in the history of the league, had a horrible day. He finished with 4 points. He was 0 from 3, and the Celtics absolutely obliterated the Warriors yesterday. They were up 22 after 1. They were up 82-38 at the half, and that 44-point lead after 2 is the biggest halftime lead in franchise history. They wound up winning by 52. 140-88. Jaylen Brown, 29 points. Jason Tatum, 27 on his 26th birthday. And neither guy had to play more than 25 minutes. Now, getting back to Brown, he was more than a little shocked that Golden State left him open.
If you want to dare me to shoot, we can do that too. You know what I mean? I thought it was a little disrespectful, but, you know, we took advantage of it and we didn't look back.
Jaylen Brown said in another interview, that's the first time anyone has left him that open in his basketball career, high school, college, or pro. He's never experienced that before, ever. So on the other side, and Joe brought this up, there was Draymond Green. He was guarding Brown in the first quarter. He was the guy that was standing 10 feet away from him, daring him to shoot. And so obviously Draymond, who's always been one to give a quote before, after, and during games, they all ran to his locker afterwards, and as you knew he would, he just kind of dismissed it and threw the whole day away.
I don't think we really played a full defensive strategy to kind of dive into that. We implemented our strategy like 15 minutes before we left the locker room. So I don't necessarily think we put together a full defensive strategy to debate on what they're doing with their offense.
That's right. Steve Kerr, one of the best coaches in the history of the league, just kind of casually slapped something together. Said, you know what? I haven't really looked at this team at all. We haven't looked at any tape. I mean, we really don't know what they're doing. Let's just try this.
Well,
I'm sure that's exactly what happened.
No excuses for Golden State. They're only a 500 basketball team right now. And, you know, we've seen this kind of like inevitable decline of the Golden State Warriors. Having said that, it's the end of a road trip, and this is their third game in 4 days. They played Thursday night, Friday night, and then you've got Boston sitting there at the end of it. Not buying what?
They're the 7th in the league in scoring. Like, they've won how many in a row?
They had won
13-3 or something.
Yeah, they had won 9 of their last 11. They were playing well coming into this game.
Everybody's been playing well. Dallas was 8 of 10 going into the game.
Look, it's the end of a road trip. Curry's banged up, and I know they've won a bunch of games, but overall, they're 32-28. They're about a 500 basketball team.
This was an opportunity, and they were missing Brandon Pajemski, who'd been very good for them over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So they were missing a guy as well, but no excuses. I mean, the Celtics are making everybody look like Golden State looked last night. They are that good at this moment.
After the game, even Tatum said yesterday, he's like, they didn't play the way they wanted to play tonight. They knew that was not the best version of Golden State out there, and they knew that they had an off night. Having said that, this was the type of game that you're up for. You want to watch. I have my scheduled viewing for the afternoon. I was going to peek in on Iowa and Ohio State, see the Caitlin Clark thing, which we'll get to later. and then I'm going to sit down. It's going to be great. Sunday afternoon, don't have to worry about when this thing finishes. Plenty of time to still have dinner with the fam and all that. That game was over. It was over. It was unwatchable. I mean, other than the spectacle of it, you just had to peek in on it. It wasn't anything where you had to watch every shot after the first quarter.
I was super impressed in the game. It had nothing to do with all the threes they hit or whatever. It's what they did in a short amount of time. Tatum had 27 points, 5 assists in 25 minutes. He was 9 of 13 shooting, and he looked like an MVP. He's been playing like it every night. Jaylen Brown is playing like the second best player on the team. You could probably question that going into it. Their defense also last night. You could say whatever you want about the Warriors shooting 39% and 17% from three, holding them to 17% from three. A team that this is only the second time this year they haven't scored 100 points. And I just wanted to give Joe Mazzulla some credit, who gets all the heat in this town whenever they lose or something goes wrong. But on Friday night, it was a tie game, or Dallas pulled within 2 points. The Celtics finished on a 57-31 run to win that game. Last night, tied at 21, the Celtics finished on a 61-17 run. They're closing out games. They're playing different. They're changing their rotations. They're getting stuff from their bench, but they're getting to the line. They're out rebounding everybody. It's not just the 3-point ball, and I just hate that narrative about the team.
The other part of it is Jason Tatum wasn't involved in the offense really in the first quarter. And they absolutely blew Golden State's doors. They were up 44-22 after one, and I think Tatum had one field goal. And this is on a day where Al Horford was not involved in the offense and Kristaps Porzingis didn't play at all. And they still were up 22 points after one quarter. This team is not just good, they're historically good. And getting back to Jaylen Brown, heading into the game yesterday, he had 6 games where he had scored 25 points and committed 0 turnovers this season. And that, again, that erases another narrative.
That erases the narrative that he loses the handle and that he can't hold on to the ball. Now, listen, you say, as good as they are, and that it's this unstoppable
They're
force.
48-12.
Stephen A. said it last night. That's what everybody was thinking after a win like that. This changes the expectation for this team now. This is no longer a team that needs to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and then cross their fingers against whoever is there. I don't think it's going to be, Embiid will be back and doing anything, but whether it's Milwaukee or the Pacers, who have given you problems before, now this team has to win the NBA championship.
I couldn't agree more. The bar is that high considering how well they're playing. They've just set a new NBA record, Hardy. That's their 3rd win of 50 points plus this season. They made 25 threes in the game yesterday. That's the 3rd most in franchise history. They're 8.5 games ahead of Milwaukee for the best record in the East. There's 6 games ahead of Oklahoma City for the best record in the NBA. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's championship or bust at this point. That's how good this team is.
And, one thing about this team, which I know we'll get to the Bruins faltered
That's
going into the half. What happened last year, though, with the Celtics out of the break? They struggled.
Yep.
Milwaukee got that big lead, and that's when things fell apart for the Celtics. So I think that's a big difference from last year to this year, is that just that mentality going into it. And just a couple other things going into after the All-Star break. They had how many games of nationally televised against top opponents? Well, so far Tatum is, they beat Philly the other night with Philly scoring 9 more threes than them and still won by 18 points.
That's something to watch, and you're right about that. They're not just winning games shooting threes anymore.
Yep.
As much as Mazzulla loves the 3-point shot, there was that one thing by Kendrick Perkins. You know what? They're not posting up enough. They can only win with threes. You know what they did the next week? They just put Kristaps Porzingis in the low post and kept throwing the ball into him, and they won by 30 points that way.
So now we're going to have this inevitable comparison to the Bruins last year. You just mentioned the Bruins, Joe, and where they were at this point. And look, I was one of the ones saying the Bruins are going to win the Stanley Cup. They're so good. I can't believe how this team, all they do is win and figure out ways to win. And that proved to be foolish, obviously, after what we saw happen in the playoffs. Basketball, obviously, is different. And when you're this good and this talented and you've got things working, especially with the addition of Porzingis, who, I have to say it again, didn't even play last night. And this the third time they've blown a team out and embarrassed them off the court this season.
Scored 140 points without him.
I don't know how you can twist yourself into a pretzel explaining why everyone should not be thinking this team is going to win it all. Unless you know way more about the Nuggets and their game plan and their ability to stop, from a defensive perspective, stop what the Celtics are doing right now.
There's two things I'd watch down the stretch here. The MVP thing for Tatum is real. He just beat Luka Doncic. He just embarrassed Steph Curry. Doncic had a good game, but they still won the game. They're going to get Jokic, right? All these games are on national television. They're going to get Phoenix twice.
Yep.
So if Tatum can have some pretty big games and they continue to win the way they do, he's going to move up in that MVP conversation.
He is the best player on far and away the best team. That's his candidacy.
But here's the question. Down the stretch, do they play these guys? Do they need to play these guys? Because I think they know what's most important in the end.
Real quickly, Jeremy in Worcester. Yes, Jeremy, what do you have for us this morning?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Hardy, now you're saying that the game was over after the half, and you were kind of like, I don't even want to watch the game. I mean, that was history that we just witnessed. Even though I get it, it's a blowout. No one really likes a blowout, but when there's actually history in the making, it's like to be seen. I have one other thing to say too, and hi Joe, hi Wallach, and Joe, glad to hear you in the morning.
Thanks, bro.
Yep, no problem. Pierce or Tatum, even though Pierce won the championship, and I'll leave you with that. I'd love to hear the debate on that.
No doubt. There's no doubt Pierce. Tatum's probably a better talent.
Pierce.
But the way Pierce could get to the line at a dime is still...
Now, the difference, though, is time. If Tatum goes out and does this for another decade, then it's a conversation.
The aftermath and what it means for the rest of the season is compelling. Was that game itself compelling?
Storyline, that's it.
Was that the type of game you couldn't take your eyes off of?
No.
Of course you could. I went out and took the dog.
I don't know, actually. Because when the Patriots would, beat down teams for years, I watched every single beatdown. It was they dropped 50 points in the snow against the Titans. And I think that's what the caller's mentioning, is that yesterday was history. I looked up what the biggest margin of a win ever was in a regular season game. I started doing those things because it was on national television. It was against the Warriors, and they made Steph Curry... literally, and the Warriors look pretty dumb.
I think about it the way I used to think of Tyson fights, going way back now. It's you get all wound up. It's I'm going to watch Tyson tonight, and the fight would be over in 45 seconds. Well, that sucks. That's kind of how I felt yesterday. I'm happy for the Celtics.
Well, you didn't have to pay through the nose to watch.
It means great things for the team and for the season, but in terms of something to do on a Sunday, no, that wasn't the best thing to do.
By the way, that was the beginning of pay-per-view. When Tyson was knocking everybody out, you had to pay money on pay-per-view to watch a Tyson fight, and you'd pay whatever it was at the time, $29.99, $30, whatever it was.
$49.99.
$49.99, whatever it was, I've forgotten. But you'd get it there like the Michael Spinks fight. You'd walk in there, you'd watch it, and it would be over in 35 seconds, and your $50 was out the window.
What else are we going to get to here next?
We're going to talk about
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
Bruins, they're next.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Stay with us here at Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Play.
It's the all-new Toucher and Hardy.
Whatever, man.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Wallach, what else happened over the weekend?
Well, he's talking about the Celtics, and as good as they've been, let's pivot 180 degrees to the Bruins. Hardy, did you see what happened to the Bruins Saturday night against the Islanders?
I saw the aftermath of it. I was otherwise indisposed at a theatrical performance.
Oh, that's
Saturday
right.
night.
Your son.
That's right. That's
your
right.
son.
Well,
acting.
The entire the middle school performance of Matilda.
Ooh.
Friday and Saturday night.
Your son have a prominent role in this?
Back to back. No. Coming off his marquee performance as Linus in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Oh, okay.
He took a step back, into the chorus, so to speak, for Matilda. But no, I was unable to watch the game. I saw the quote-unquote highlights of the Bruins game.
Okay, so let's get into it a little bit. The Bruins visited the New York Islanders in their brand-new building next to the Belmont Racetrack, as you well know, and this is what it sounded like.
Along the far side, Heinen trapped it, dished it back of his net, Carlo, and Riley scoops it up. Far corner, centered out in front. Ullmark the save, they score. He can't stop them all. He stopped the original drive from Brock Nelson. It comes right back to him. He chipped it by a fallen Ullmark. 5-0 Islanders.
All right, Kyle Palmieri had a natural hat trick in the first period, and the Bruins were done for the night. They did score a goal, but they lost 5-1. They've dropped 4 out of 5, but that doesn't begin to describe the story here. A team that prides itself on defense has now allowed 3 goals or more in 9 straight games, and if you include a 3-2 shootout loss to Tampa Bay on February 13th, and I am because it helps my narrative, they've allowed 3 goals or more in 11 straight. What's happened to this team? Is it the obvious lack of frontline talent after David Pastrnak and Brad Marchand? By the way, the captain has 4 points in his last 12 games. Pavel Zacha has completely disappeared. He has no goals in his last 11. And we've gone over Jake DeBrusk. He has 2 points in his last 15 games. Both of those points came against Edmonton almost 2 weeks ago. The trade deadline is Friday. So I ask the room, what do they do now?
This isn't probably the right way to go into the trade deadline, I would say. By the way, what's more impressive?
What do they do now? They need to figure out what the hell happened to the team that came out and played so well at the start of the season and won, 9 of their first 10? 9-0-1 to begin the season. And they weren't doing it with, with a bunch of smoke and mirrors. They were doing it with good offense, timely offense, and I would say effective defensive play. And it wasn't like last year when they were just figuring out ways to win. No, they were winning those games. A couple of overtime and shootout wins. But for the most part, those were legitimate wins. They weren't luck. They were effective at moving the puck, at frustrating teams in the neutral zone, and handling business in their own end. And they don't do any of that anymore.
Is it just the injury to Hampus Lindholm? Is that shown how tenuous all of that is on the back end?
It's some of it. The Hampus, believe me, I'm no fan of Hampus after what he turned into at the end of last season, but they do miss him.
Ice time. I mean, just the fact he's on the ice. But I think the blueprint's out on them. Anything, any pressure situation in their own zone, specifically face-offs in their own zone, have been brutal. But I just keep going back to Montgomery after the All-Star break. They're 4-4-5 and have 3 no-shows. That Islanders game was a no-show.
It was ugly.
Calgary, out of the break, no-show.
Yep.
Washington, no-show.
Washington's a bad team, too. It's embarrassing to watch them get shelled like this night after night after night. By the way, we're going to have Judge Surratt at 9 o'clock this morning here on the show. We'll talk to him about some of this. They visit Toronto tonight, pregame 6:30, face-off 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. They're back home to play Edmonton tomorrow evening. But I know we got to take a break here. We'll discuss the Bruins later on in the show, but I also want to get into, before we get to the top of the hour, the Combine and one of the quarterbacks at the Combine who threw, and there are decided mixed reviews on this guy who is apparently rocketing up draft boards.
We are going to not only break, but we're going to give you the opportunity to win tickets to somebody. I can't believe, Jomer, you impressed me as the type of guy who's into the comedy scene.
Yeah.
You don't like stand-up comedians?
No, I like stand-up comedians. I know who the fellow is now that I've seen his.
Joe Coy.
Yeah.
Very funny guy. What's the problem?
What does that mean exactly?
And these guys, man, play in the Garden. So, you want... I don't know.
What is that about?
I like Joe Coy a lot. I think he's very funny.
Is he coming in studio?
We're working on that.
Okay.
Probably over the phone. Is it going to be over the phone, Dan? Joe Coy?
Trying to see if he can get in studio.
I'd love to have him in
think
studio.
That's why he's being nice, Joe. That's why Hardy's being nice.
Okay.
I'm not...
Kidding. Just go to prison.
That's not why I'm being nice. I'm a legitimate fan of his comedy.
You see what I have to deal with? That. Right there. Every day.
I don't think that's true. I don't think Dan pays you that much attention to give you that hard of a time.
Oh, you don't have any
win a pair of tickets to see Joe Coy Friday night. Holy crap, that's this Friday night, March 8th, courtesy of the TD Garden. Don't miss Joe Coy's World Tour. Friday, March 8th, TD Garden. Select tickets still available through all Ticketmaster outlets. So be caller 10. Contest line, 617-931-0985.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
Do that? Okay, do that. Good luck.
If your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
DOB, is Joe Coy really going to be in studio, do you think?
Well, there was they were asking about it, and then the pushback was like, hey, can we get him in studio? And then, like, working on it, more than likely a phoner. Because oftentimes, if they want to pump it up a day or two ahead of time, that he may be in another city doing another show as opposed to being in town.
Gotcha.
And I know they were trying to get a few more tickets sold ahead of time.
All right. Well, I'll let you know on that. But we got tickets for that, I think, several days this
week, exactly, yep.
Good. All right. Toucher and Hardy, Fred out. Wallach and Joe Murray here with me, Hardy, and they had the Combine over the weekend there, Wallach.
Showtime at the Combine. We had people doing actual drills on the field, and for quarterbacks, the top 3 guys didn't throw, but the next 3 did, and we talked a lot about J.J. McCarthy, Hardy, over the last week. You know, you and Fred, obviously, you had talked about McCarthy in Michigan and how he was rocketing up draft boards, and there were even whispers that he might be in the top 3. Well, McCarthy threw yesterday, and we got this.
What do you think about what we are seeing so far?
Yeah, we're watching J.J. McCarthy here, and to me, I want to see just how the ball comes out of your hand, first of all. You're seeing drops, which a lot of these guys haven't done a ton of. McCarthy's done a little bit of it there at Michigan. To me, he's a pure thrower. He's very loose, very smooth, very fluid. So kind of going through the list of guys, you know,
well,
at a younger age.
Devin Leary right there, obviously 4 years at NC State, 1 at Kentucky. And obviously, JJ's only been at Michigan.
He's been the one that's jumped out to me a little bit.
All right. Rich Eisen, Michigan grad, by the way.
Yeah.
Rich Eisen and his merry band of co-broadcasters twisted themselves into a pretzel to tell us that, well, you know, the wide receivers, he's not used to the wide receivers. You know, he looks fluid. J.J. McCarthy was overshooting guys, throwing balls behind people, throwing balls at guys' feet. I mean, what they were describing had nothing to do with what was going on in front of them. J.J. McCarthy could not have helped his draft stock over the weekend at all.
He didn't look to me to be a guy ready to step in and do anything year one. Now, if he's a player that can develop behind somebody else, fine, which is what you have to set yourself up for, especially as a Patriots fan. This is a process. This is a multi-year process. I can't imagine why you would. I've never been a big McCarthy guy. I think Fred is higher on him than I am.
Much higher.
But just, watch him. I don't see that guy and say, man, I would love him. I would love him to play quarterback for my NFL team. I don't see it, and I certainly didn't see it in any of the combine stuff. He doesn't flat out suck, but he just doesn't look like a guy who's ready to step up anytime soon and do that job.
You know what? You know who actually did look really good was Penix, who was 6th on everybody's draft board. Penix was throwing rockets everywhere, and he measured really well, too. And Jeff Howe, who we're also going to have on at 8 o'clock today, said basically Penix was a late second-round draft pick, according to the guys that he talked to before his workout. He's a guy who really helped himself.
His medicals look good, too. That's the biggest thing when it comes. I think he's the best pure thrower in the draft. And it's everything else for him. Penix has a great ball. He only played college, I think, 5 or 6 years.
That release.
Yeah, he's strong arm. I thought through
weird. It's a weird release though,
because it's that left-handed look.
I don't know if it's that. It seems low too, doesn't it?
A little bit. The guys who are going to get all
kind of got that Stafford 45-degree angle thing going.
Stafford had a pretty good career.
But
maybe that's not the comparison you're hoping for.
No, is he the rule or is he the exception when it comes to what you expect to see from a thrower?
If they draft the next Matt Stafford, I'm in.
Okay, I'm not ready to call him the next Matt Stafford. We're looking at technicalities here. We're looking at combine stuff. We're looking at how a guy looks and how you can envision that behind the line.
I don't want them to take Penix. I don't want them to take J.J. McCarthy. I don't want them to take anybody else. Don't overthink it. Take Daniels or May or whoever is left over. That's who you take. Don't overthink this. What you saw at the combine, and I'm on your side here, what you saw at the combine doesn't alter my view of they need to take Daniels or May at 3. I didn't see, they have to get McCarthy, and as good as Penix was, they have to take a tackle at 3 and then draft Penix in the second round. I'm still on board with drafting Daniels or May.
All right, lots more on that with Jeff Howe, who will join us at 8 o'clock from The Athletic. Just so you know, next hour, you're going to have a chance to win Bruins and Oilers tickets. And Judd Surratt's going to join us later on, too, talk about the lowly state of the Bruins right now. But first, if you've watched the new episodes of The Dynasty, those dropped on Friday. We will talk about that next after the headlines here on Toucher and Hart.